Highlights and white lines can really help to finish off a drawing and make it pop, so in today's video I have 3 easy ways to add highlights, white lines and details to your coloured pencil drawings. I am using 3 different tools and supplies to create these highlights, and these are definitely a must-have for artists because they are very affordable and effective ways of getting in those defining features and details into your drawing. So let's get started. I'm testing out all 3 methods with the Prismacolor, Polychromos and Luminance pencils, so you will see exactly how these tools work with the 3 most popular coloured pencil brands. You can find embossing tools in most craft stores, and these are normally used for pottery or clay modelling, but they have been adapted for artists to use in their drawings because the small nib on the end can gently score the paper to make indentations. The little indentations on the paper help to preserve the white grain of the paper, so as you sketch or draw over those indentations, the lines will stay white, crisp and sharp, so if you are drawing animals, it's an effective way to create fur details or other realistic details in drawings. I love using an embossing tool in most of my animal drawings because it helps to create even more detail in the fur and it helps to achieve that realistic result. So what about the pencils? I'm comparing 3 coloured pencil brands to see exactly how this technique works with them, and the first thing I do is gently score the paper before I apply any pigment to the paper. As you score the paper, it flattens the tooth of the paper, so as you glaze colours over, the lines stay untouched and visible through the pencil layers. You can get really good results with all 3 coloured pencil sets, and as you glaze more colours over the paper, the lines become more and more visible because there's more contrast between the colours and the white lines. So if you want to create different patterns, textures and highlights in a drawing, this is a perfect technique to use, and you can also use lots of different sized embossing tools as well to get different results. An X-Acto knife or craft knife is an effective way to pull up highlights and details in a drawing once you have finished a piece. The sharp and pointed edge on a craft knife can be used to gently scratch away layers of coloured pencil, revealing the lighter tones underneath and add even more realism to a drawing. You need to be quite careful with how you use this, as too much pressure can rip the paper and damage your paper, and you can also injure yourself as well if you don't use this correctly. Always scratch away pencil layers by gently scratching the paper upwards and away from your hands, and make sure that your hand position is loose and light to avoid adding too much pressure onto the paper. I find this is an effective technique to use for adding in highlights and details no matter what pencils I am using, because the pencil residue easily lifts off the paper as it is scratched away. This technique is great to use for any drawings that have a lot of texture, so for example animals, or even to add realistic elements to hair, so stray hairs, and this can definitely transform your drawings. I find this technique is sometimes difficult to use with wax pencils because colours can become muddy and smear into each other. TouchUp Texture is an archival product used specifically for coloured pencil work. A liquid solution is mixed together with a powdered solution to form a milky paint-like texture that can be used to add white highlights to a drawing. This is a very popular product and technique to use for coloured pencils, and the great thing about this is that you can get different levels of transparency depending on how much liquid to powder solution you use. So if you want to create really bold lines, mixing a thick texture will help you get those results, but if you want a more translucent line, thinning the solution down will create subtle highlights that aren't so bold. To really make a drawing pop, white highlights are an effective way to do this because they really stand out, but you do need to be careful not to overdo it so that drawings don't look washed out or overexposed. I find I get the best results by using a small precision brush to create fine lines and just using a small amount of this solution and only in places that need it. It doesn't matter what pencils I use, the highlights really stand up against any colour, and because this is designed for coloured pencils, you get long-lasting results and you aren't using a solution that could deteriorate over time or damage the artwork. The other great thing about the TouchUp Texture is that it is non-toxic, so it is much safer to use this than some mineral spirits or paint thinners, so for example coloured pencil solvents. The only downside to this is that you need to wait for this to dry completely before touching the drawing, but once the solution has dried you can go back over areas with coloured pencils if you've made any mistakes or just need to glaze colours. I hope you found this video useful if you are struggling to add highlights or details to your drawings, and if you have used any of these methods before, let me know in the comments section down below what techniques you use. Maybe you've tried another technique for adding highlights or details to drawings, and if you have, let me know below because I'd love to hear the different methods you use in your drawings. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and hit the bell so you never miss an update from me. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you soon. Bye!